Abhijit, I have a question for you. There's an aspect of wokeism that demands equity, equal outcomes at the expense of equality, which is fair opportunity. So the idea that there are these oppressed groups in society and decisions should be on quotas, not on merit or need. Now, there's some unintended consequences here because I heard that in New York, for example, where crime is rampant, the police are not prosecuting because that would upset the racial quotas of the criminals because they're overwhelmingly black. And then in California, if you commit a crime and you steal something that's below about $1,000 or $900, it's not even registered.
Yeah.
So it's like, it comes back to this. I guess my question is India, there's an elite section of Indian society that really aspires to the West. It looks to the West for cultural, food, societal moorings. And if it's going to emulate this sort of behavior or these kind of rules, should we be worried about Bharatiya society going forward?
No, look, I think we're reasonably well insulated from the West. The very fact that we didn't adopt English as the link language, surprise, surprise, has come to be our savior. The reality of the West is not the reality of India. India has a lot more subsistence level goals to achieve before we start thinking about the kind of rubbish that the West is thinking right now. There are some people in India, say in Bombay or Delhi, who try to bring it in here. But even the looniest of the left in Delhi and Bombay keep them at arm's distance, right? Because they realize that this is not a proposition that's going to sell in India. But a lot of this is driven by money because, see, this is grift. When you have a situation where you've provided equality of input, but you can never guarantee equality of output. I mean, when you have things like karmanyavadi karaste mafaleshu kadachana, what is that? You do your best, but don't expect the same outcome. I might have made the same level of investment as, say, Dhirubhai Ambani did when he was a young man, but that doesn't mean I'm going to get what Dhirubhai Ambani did, because there are so many variables out there which are, there's luck, there's the education of the guy you hire. Say you hired a crook as an accountant and he screwed you over. How is that a lack of privilege on your part? Okay, so there's all of this happening out there, and when you can't explain the variables, you get in these so-called humanities trained, allegedly trained grifters who call themselves diversity, equality, and inclusiveness consultants, who come in there and sell you their services, which is really no different than a placebo effect. Really, it's not even placebo. It's worse than a placebo, because they're telling you all kinds of crap, essentially emperor's new clothes kind of nonsense, which nobody wants to call out. But as long as you've ticked the box, you can say, I might not have achieved all of this, but hey, at least I ticked the box. I don't know, for those of you who know how the Indian examination system works in mathematics, in our board exams, there are step marks. You might get your entire equation wrong, but as long as you followed the steps, you could get as much as 8 out of 10 for a completely wrong answer. I passed my maths exam that way, so I'm nobody to complain about it. But look, this is a system that can be gamed, and that's what they're doing. The other aspect to this is, why are places like universities selling this so heavily? Because there is a whole set of fake degrees being offered under the name of the humanities these days. What happens is, with the sciences, if you sign up for a BSc or something like that, or even a traditional humanities course like anthropology or sociology or international relations, you're required to spend $40,000-$50,000 going to a place of study, doing primary research on your thesis, and coming back and talking about it. Or finding something new. It has to add to the existing body of knowledge, right? Have there been frauds? Of course. There was this lady who, who claimed she had gone to Tahiti and saw these sexually promiscuous things happen out there, which was complete hogwash. But because nobody else had been to Tahiti at that point of time, all of it sold as this kind of Fantasia Island kind of thing. But the scope of fraud out there is significantly less. Here, what happens is for that same semester fees of $40,000 per semester, you're getting a Harvard degree, a Princeton degree, a Stanford or a Yale degree for doing exactly nothing other than talking about your experiences. I mean, do I really want to know if you got slapped by your mom for not making chapatis perfectly round? Because I can tell you, I was made to make rice, and if I didn't get my rice right, my mom would spank me. She'd spank me good. But you know what? So what? But apparently, you're meant to write all of this down, and it's meant to be this melodramatic tale of child abuse of how a 17-year-old kid got slapped by his mother, who was worried that he was going to go off to Australia and not know how to cook rice, and about how it was child abuse and etc., etc., etc. And through my lived experiences, I want to sensitize all of you to the traumatic victimhood of getting slapped for not cooking rice. Uh, how do you justify $40,000 for this kind of drivel? Not 40,000 per year, 40,000 per semester. You have to create an ecosystem where you get employed, where you get jobs, where you get a very good salary commensurate with the money you're putting into this bogus so-called education. And this is what I said. We've reached a convergence, a singularity, where everybody is invested in propagating this grift. Especially the universities, because this is the highest return subject for them. Before, there was something called general studies in US universities, which was meant for sports persons. They were going to do very, very well in sports and earn lots of money. They needed an Ivy League tag. And general studies was kind of really learning a little bit about everything: knitting, sewing, soup making, a little bit of basic arithmetic, a little bit of basic algebra, etc., etc. And that was fine. But here you have a category that's you're literally spending just $2,000 per semester on this person, and your return on investment on this person is the highest, and you have to justify that course. Uh, that's what we're seeing. We're seeing a financial incentivization of grift. That's what it is. It's plain and simple financial incentivization of grift.
If I may,
Yeah,
Navitari,
sure, go ahead.
as I'm here on a mission, I have a particular task. I was invited to speak at a conference, and having studied the parameters of what's really going on, Abhijit used word grift. I think it summarizes the whole escapade. What we have seen is, shall we say, a group of uninformed people who are compassionate, being convinced that there is a terrible crime being inflicted all around them, and that unless they respond to resolve that crime, then it's a denial of human rights. Their compassion has been triggered. Their desire to do good has been weaponized. And in classic divide and rule gameplay, you create a difference, you elevate one, denigrate the other, and make the two connected and say one's responsible for the other. That's the game plan. And it's been done by a group who have set up a commercial entity. It's not a not-for-profit. It is a for-profit company which is going around teaching people about this terrible scenario, which only exists as a figment of imagination in their own mind. And it's gotten to that point where the establishment, so many members of the political class bought it, that if they now identify it for what it really is, then they all look like complete idiots. So it is that emperor's clothing scenario. And it's developing into the space where it's going to grow and grow and grow until it becomes so uncomfortable, and then it'll pop. And everybody will be left with egg on their faces. And this is all in the name of caste legislation, caste equality, right? It's an incredible act of superb grift. It's so skillfully honed, so well constructed, and it's delivered with drama that is worthy of a Shakespearean stage. You know, people turning up with crutches prior to an event, and then when they get the judgment in their favor, suddenly their crutches disappear. You know, they're celebrating with everybody else. It's all being done, and because of its momentum, people are actually saying, "Oh yes, well we have to go along with it, otherwise we all look like complete blithering idiots." They don't realize that the way things are, the revelation always occurs. You know, the truth will always be revealed. As Saint Augustine said, truth it doesn't need to be defended, it's a lion that needs to be unleashed. And so as people are unleashing the reality, suddenly the temperature is changing. And there's a conference being held here, and the theme of the conference was healing. It was, you know, rifts have been caused by this extortion, this victimhood extortion exercise, and we have to put some sort of balm on those rifts and the friction and the disputes that have occurred. And so the whole theme was coming together to heal. And we noticed that the grifters have suddenly started to talk the language of let's heal, right? After having vilified, demeaned, and caused friction across all of California and in many other states, they're now talking about, well, let's come together and heal. You know, it's that classic thing. Whoops, I might get rumbled here. So what do? A rearguard action, and let's try and move past the processes towards reconciliation. And it's just, as Abhijit has said, it's pure extortion. It's pure exploitation, and it's being done so skillfully using the universities, using the networks which exist to create and proliferate and to establish a self-referential mechanism whereby it looks as though it's genuine, authentic, and real, but really it has no substance behind it. And it'll be interesting to see how this moves forward to a point where it does collapse. I think it's on the verge of collapsing over the next, possibly within the next 12 to 16, 18 months. And then somebody will be left holding the bill for it all when the music stops. And as long as it's not our community, then it'll be good to see what justice manifests here in the US.
Please remember to subscribe to us and switch on the notifications for this channel. For our other social media links, more content, and to support our work, please visit citti.net. Dhanyavad. Namaskar.